In this video, I just took a video showing the house we finished in California, currently for sale for $6 million. I'm super proud of it. Everyone did an awesome job on it. It turned out beautiful. I thought it would be good to share how we found the deal and the process of walking through. So this deal was a unique deal. I found this deal how I find 90% of my deals, and that's using the BOGO method. It's actually nothing more than the exact training I show you on the BOGO method. I go through and look for deals, and I found this deal using that method. It's been awesome. I moved here, I did this deal where I live now, and had no real estate experience. I had never bought a house like this before in California. This house is in California. I went into a market that I knew nothing about. I was able to find a deal. How did I know it was a deal? I ran the numbers. I never do anything without running the numbers. I used the BOGO method. I found the deal. I purchased the deal. The other part of that too in the deal is that I teach in the BOGO method how to figure out how long the process is going to take, because that's where most people fail and get bogged down in the system. That happened to me with this house a little bit. There were some things that I didn't know about. But even if you come across something you don't know about, you can still make it right and you do a great deal. I have a few things. When something like that happens and I get a setback, I just go for it. In my numbers, and I train this in the BOGO method, I'm a little more conservative so that when you have something go sideways or when you have something take a little longer than you think it's going to take, it doesn't ruin the deal. It doesn't sour the deal for you. And that's really key, because guess what? It happens in every deal. I haven't done a deal yet that has gone perfect and everything closed on time and everything worked exactly the way it was supposed to. Those deals don't exist in my world anyway. Back to this. Yes, found the house. I was new to the area. I started using the BOGO method, searching for the house. It's how I teach how to do it. Found the house, put the house into escrow, did my due diligence. Due diligence was awesome. We found out that one of the sewer laterals was disconnected, so it's one of the things we had to fix. Then I immediately hired an engineer, because this house is on the side of a hill, so I wanted to make sure that the hill was stable and that the house was stable. And I hired a draftsman. And then I had someone help me go through the design profile for the home, because it's a new area. Every area has different design profiles that people want to see in that market. So it's really important that you do that as well. I do it every time I do a new house in a new market. We came up with the plans. The plans took a long time because this was a very extensive remodel. We went all the way down to the studs on the inside. We put in, I'll show you this real quick. This room with the skylights, this was actually a courtyard. So this was to the outside of the house. We enclosed that area. We added about 550 square feet to this home. It gave us that area inside, an interior laundry room, and a half bath. In homes of this caliber and size, you have to have a real laundry room and a half bath. So that's what we did. It took a lot longer than I thought. There's a lot of steel in this house because we're in California and earthquakes, and the code is it's like building a multi-story building. There's that much steel in here. I was really surprised. We poured a lot of concrete, a lot of steel in the concrete, a lot of steel beams in this house. Actually, if you see the ceiling here, goes up there, that's a steel beam, runs all the way across the whole house. And then we have steel beams in between it. Had to do that. There were some challenges for me. I hadn't really done steel in a house before, so there's a lot of steel in this house. Yeah, we went through the process. I came into this market. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the procedures, the processes and procedures. So before I bought it in my due diligence, that's one of the things I did is I went down to the city and I talked to them a lot, just so I got a feeling of like how this project should run, what they expected of me and what I could expect from them. That really helps when I'm doing projects. And then I had to go out and I had to find some subs and I had to find some general contractors and some other people to help me. One of the things that I have learned is that when I do this, no matter what, I meet with at least 3. I found that if I meet with at least 3, I have a really good understanding, because one's going to be really high, one's going to be really low, and then one's going to be somewhere in between. And what I learned from that is that the high guy is not necessarily the bad guy. The low guy is not necessarily the bad guy, but I get 3 different perspectives on how they run the project in this market, because every market has some nuances to it, and it has some tricks of the trade that these guys should know if they're any good, and will use if they're any good. When we did this house, the remodel took us a lot longer than I wanted it to. It took us a year. That was a lot of design, a lot of mix-ups on my part, because I didn't really understand the earthquake code for California. So that's why I say doing your research up front, super important. But the finished product turned out awesome. I couldn't have asked for better. The level of finishes, the level of craftsmanship. I did go through more than one contractor because they weren't living up to my expectations. And that set us back as well, because there are certain stages in the project where you can't move forward until something else is done. If they weren't performing to the standard I wanted, I had to let them go if they couldn't correct it. There were some learning curveballs, but I really do believe when you do a project like this, it has to be the way you see it. And it has to evoke the feelings you want it to evoke. I'm really big on feelings on houses because you live there. That's where you spend your time. That's where your buyer is going to spend their time. And that's how they're going to feel about the product. I've never gone wrong doing it that way. So I suggest you think about that as well. It took us about a year to do it. Then we finished the house. We staged the house. That can be quite expensive if you're not really sure what you're getting into and the level of staging. Then we listed the house for sale. This house is just under $6 million. It's a beautiful home in an amazing neighborhood. It's on the side of a hill, so we have a view of the water and the beaches and the other resorts. It's going to make someone a great weekender home. I think a young family or an older couple, and this is going to be one of a couple homes that they have, and they're going to come and use it and just love it. And I'm super excited for them. The top three things that I ran into issues in this house was, one was the contractors. When I started, I did interview 3 contractors from the get-go, and I chose one that I thought would work well with me and could deliver the higher standard. And I actually ended up having to let him go. And so we had to stop the project completely because the finishes were not up to my standard. The way they worked wasn't the way I work. I think that's really important when you're doing a project. Not only does the contractor have your standards, but also they work well with you. Because if they don't, it's just a hassle. It's hard. And it shouldn't be hard. It should be fun. The second thing that I ran into is that I hired another bad contractor right after that one. But I caught it much quicker. And the third contractor was amazing. That was one issue. The municipality here, there were more than just the municipality that had to get involved with the permitting for this house and the approval of the plans. One was the local HOA, but then you talk about the municipality, they were involved, but then there were another couple overlay zones, and I go through that in the BOGO course, how to look for overlay zones and what that means. But there was a design standard overlay zone that I just didn't catch. That took me a little bit of time to figure it out. So that was hard. And then the last thing I would say is that where we're at, everything is super expensive. We went over budget. It's really good that we had that contingency in there. It's been really awesome sharing this with you. I'm so glad that you took the time to watch it. It was a lot of fun for me. I appreciate that. I just love people who love what we do. I'm gonna wrap this up. If you have questions about the home or interest or anything else, just put a comment down here and we'll make sure we reach out to you and get in touch with you. The other thing to remember is that in the BOGO method, I teach how to do this. This is a little more advanced than the basic BOGO method, which I teach to start and where I really think everyone should start. It's super important. Before you know it, you're doing houses like this or bigger. One other thing I forgot to mention is that we do have a free training. If this interests you, just go through the free training. It doesn't take very long and it's super simple.